Today, we're breaking down the 10 biggest questions facing the 2026 college football season with a focus on, yes, it's happening, guys, in the year 2026. College football fantasy, also getting some best bets, getting some Big Ten SEC specific breakdowns, all that and much, much more. If you're a college football fan, you do not want to miss this because we now have the face, everyone, of college football fantasy himself, Yahoo's finest, Eric freaking Froton, truly one of my best friends in real life and one of the best analysts out there. Plenty of awards will tell you that as well. So, Eric, first of all, congrats, man, on the new gig. You've, again, been pushing college football fantasy for so long. I was saying before the show, told you in the past, like, oh, man, have you ever thought about getting the dynasty? There may be a little bit more stuff going on there. You said, no, I'm college football fantasy through and through, and it's worked out for you, my friend. Welcome.
Well, I do feel like college fantasy football is downstream from dynasty. Anything you do with college fantasy football only helps you. You want to do Devy, dynasty, any sort of format you play with, I feel like it helps. So that being said, it doesn't help your relationships when you have a Sunday locked up every weekend in the fall, and then you try to lock up Saturday. So I get it. I understand, everyone. I won't apply too much propaganda upon you, but thank you very much for your kind words, Ian. Obviously, one of my best friends in the space, who will be picking me up at Columbus Airport Thursday for the Fantasy Football Expo, which we will both be attending. There will be copious wiffle ball played, just like last time. I want to say you hit a few bombs. Reeves was excellent, as he always is. I can't wait to get out there and hang out with the boys and see everybody for a couple of days and hang out in Canton.
Not going to lie, I've been sacrificing the old softball, wiffle ball swing to try to get good at golf, which isn't really working either, Eric. So maybe I should consider going the other way with it. But regardless, going to be a fun weekend and going to be a fun show for sure. So as Eric said, guys, again, never too early to get ahead on some of these prospects because soon enough it's going to be March again. You're going to be in those rookie drafts. So why not learn a thing or two about them now? But I want to start off again with a look at college fantasy football, Eric, because again, something you've been pushing for a while. I've gotten into a couple of these leagues, man, but as someone who, again, my entire life revolves around NFL and Sunday, I have struggled to kind of always find that commitment on Saturday to, again, be that much next level DGen. But in your opinion, man, what just at its core makes college football fantasy so freaking awesome?
Yeah, well, don't sell yourself short, okay, Ian? You do live in Columbus, which is the capital of Ohio State.
Amen,
and we
baby.
did attend a game together. We were on the field for Ohio State versus Minnesota. Not a particularly competitive game early in the year, but we were out there. We were on the field for the entire game. You had your I want to say probably maybe a 20-year-old camera you had. You took a step every once in a while, so we looked official while we're on the field. NBC, I don't work for NBC anymore, so they can't say anything about our tomfoolery there at the Horseshoe. But hey, big moment. So I do know that you do have college allegiance, despite the fact that I know you can't watch it during the season. That being said, with college football, what makes it different is, I would say, one, the styles of offenses. As you know, the NFL, it's called pro style for a reason, because even though there's some variations, you're having the same basic level of play against professional defenses, running similar style of offenses, and the disparity of play at the college level, as we know from week-to-week basis, as we saw personally against Minnesota, which was not even remotely competitive. One week you're playing Indiana, next week you're playing Minnesota, and it's a massive, massive difference. We get into the double digits and even into the triple touchdowns frequently, even in conference opponents, when you're dealing with the Oregons and the Georgias and the Ohio States, et cetera, et cetera. The big dogs in each conference, when they're playing the lower rung opponents, are going to be waxing them. So that's something you don't experience in the NFL as much with, like I said, the same level of play. So those are definitely two factors I would say are very different. And three, just from fantasy, from that perspective, when you take out all right, I'm a fan of this team, I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm a Utah fan, I'm a Texas Tech fan, whatever team is your personal allegiance, when you can sort of strip that away and just embrace the entire Power Four landscape with 68 teams, which is more than double the 32-team NFL landscape, when you can just sit there and embrace it, the games, there's no 4 o'clock bye week. You got 3 games at 4 o'clock. You got the one game on Sunday night. No. It's wall-to-wall
Yep.
action all day long. Starts at 12 noon with the big noon kickoff on Fox. It goes all the way until Hawaii's done. It's the typical degenerate sort of cycle of college football where you still have a shot because, as we know, Timmy Chang, college fantasy football icon from Hawaii. June Jones' run and shoot system is still running the run and shoot. If you have Hawaii players, Michael Alejado, the quarterback, Pafeli Ashlock, Trey Griffith, right? Audric Harris. There's a lot of different, very impactful fantasy players who can tilt the game that you have to wait until about 4 a.m. to see. So,
well, and dude, that's kind of been the first thing I think of is, again, like obviously the best teams, Ohio State, Indiana, Miami, all these juggernauts, sure. But we look at the leaderboards at the end of the year, and a lot of times the leading passers are from the Hawaiis or the Houston or these teams where you wouldn't really expect. So like juggling, man, like our most traditional college football fantasy leagues, are you literally going through every single D1 program, or is it more so along the Power 4 conferences, or do you just kind of pick 2 conferences and go through that?
Well, the beauty of it is with 138 FBS teams, you can really customize it however you really want it. Mm-hmm. I suppose you could say. So if you want to do a full 138, you can do that at Yahoo, because we're trying to make sure that we're appealing to the masses to bring them in. We focus on the Power 4 landscape, but there are other providers out there that, it sort of helps everybody downstream where if you decide, we want to do a G6 only, well, you can go and do that. But with Yahoo, it's Power 4 only. Keep things a little more simplified. So
do you have Notre Dame in there?
You can have it. Of course. It's 68.
No.
The 67.
What a conference. Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. The Midwest rivalries cropping up. Well, we have, we'll get to Notre Dame later. Because one of the questions at the end of this, what my answer involves Notre Dame, and you're going to enjoy it because it also involves Ohio State.
Okay, fair enough. So again, guys, got to remember some of the differences in the rules. I know the big thing for me is like when you watch just such an RPO heavy difference in college, but that's because the linemen are allowed to block like 3 or 4 yards downfield. Mm-hmm. NFL, they are much, much more strict about that. You can only go 1 yard downfield. You're going to be called for, ineligible linemen basically working downfield.
Wider hashes too. The hashes 100%. A huge difference.
Every single interview, man, where they ask Ryan Day about like his biggest problem with college football, he always goes back to the hashes. So another big difference there. Then it's like the big time underdogs, bro. I remember week 14 or 15 this past year, it was like Ashton Genty hadn't done anything in 6 or 7 weeks. And oh my God, they're playing the Texans, one of the worst teams in the league with the Raiders. You're facing this juggernaut Texans defense. And guess what? Genty still goes for like 200 total yards and 2 touchdowns. So even again, one of the worst teams in the league facing one of the best defenses. Look, you guys know NFL. It's going to be close. Vegas lines, the biggest underdog during any given week is maybe going to be 2 touchdowns. Like we're talking 48-point spreads in a lot of these college football games, man.
Yeah, as I sort of alluded to, you are, especially with the Blue Bloods. But, it's funny. Those games don't correlate the same way you would think to fantasy production at a high level. My personal preference is I want 2 big dogs slugging it out that have questionable defenses and awesome offenses. Because if you don't have that second team going with them, what you're seeing from the big teams, the Indiana, Ohio State, Miami, all the teams that are the Blue Bloods that are crushing teams, once they get up, you hit the second half, they take their foot off the throttle immediately. They start rotating out different guys, and quietly, those 3 teams I mentioned were bottom 10 in the 138 FBS universe in pace of play. Ooh. Because the new playoff system is incentivizing teams that are going to be playing 16 games like Ohio State did 2 years ago. They played 15 games this year, got a conference championship, have a round, 2, 3 rounds in the playoff now. They're looking at it as, how do we all right, we're in cruise control now. How do we get to the next game? And they're sitting on that ball like it's an egg in that second half. So I like having 2 fairly competitive teams that can go more than just those quick boat races, because the top players are out and you're onto the backups.
And they changed that rule a couple of years ago too, with the having more of the running clock going, which I know also has contributed to less plays overall. So I know a lot of Columbus, Ohio natives very frustrated at the pace of play when Ryan Day kept saying they were going to increase it, weren't ready to do so. Obviously, when it mattered in some of those big boy matchups in January, maybe 2026 will be the year. But all right, man, love all of it. But again, looking more so, all right, if I'm entering a college football fantasy draft, typically, again, we're letting quarterbacks slide in normal NFL fantasy. We want the workhorse running backs early. Tight ends are someone where, yeah, if you are a Brock Bowers or a Colson Loveland, we are going to be prioritizing them in the early rounds. Otherwise, maybe going late. Are there just any big, would you say, overall stylistic differences in kind of the position value? Because, again, I know it's going to depend on if we're in a 2-conference setup or if we're playing with all 138. But just on the surface, I would think maybe the tight ends are more valuable than ever because there actually are so many fewer tight ends in college football that are actually putting up big numbers.
Yeah, tight ends is a finicky position, you know what I mean? Because if you don't have some sort of way to offset the natural sort of depression in the position from what you're going to get from the high-end wide receivers, then they're not going to have the kind of impact that you'd like them to, unless you get an Eli Stowers, you get a Tyler Warren from a couple
Harold
years
Fannin
ago.
from
You
2024. My God, he must have broke that stuff, man.
Like, you'll have these big dogs. And this year, you know, it's related to this year, in the Power Four, you have a big three. It's a consensus. Lock them up. You got the best three tight ends. It's Jamari Johnson, Oregon, Trey'Dez Green for LSU, and Terrence Carter for Texas Tech. Like, those three guys, clearly the best. You're going to be able to nibble at the margins of the position, but rather than getting the 600 yards, you know, 7-8 touchdowns out of them, you're looking at maybe 404. You know, at best, you're going to be plucking around for a 505, and you're going to be chasing at that position. So if you have a 1.5 2 PPR to help juice that position, it really even enhances the Stowers and the Warrens and the Fannins even more. And you see teams that in the Big Ball Mania, the Tyler Warren, if you had Tyler Warren with that Underdog Big Ball Mania 2 years ago, you were going to win. You know, you won money. It's pretty much you could put any lineup out. So the upper tier is separates from the middle of the pack more than any other position. So that is completely correct. No argument there.
Jamari Johnson, man, Oregon for a while, I felt like Notre Dame was kind of staking their claim to tight end you, and they've still had some dogs come on. I know Eli Raritan maybe had some issues that didn't maybe help him reach his full potential, but Terrence Ferguson, Kenyon Sadiq, now Jamari Johnson. Do you think Jamari could be kind of the best of this more recent group?
I do. You know, well, here's the thing. That Kenyon Sadiq, he tested as like the freakiest freak of all tight ends in the history of mankind. So I do have to respect that. But if you look at the usage disparity between the two down the stretch last season when the games really mattered, Jamari Johnson was running the downfield seam routes. And if there's anything I like and I feel like translates, there's a couple things I look at for CFF production in tight ends. One, it's wide rate, you know, combined with slot rate, but it's specifically wide rate. Like, if your OC is trusting you on the outside to be able to go one-on-one against a boundary corner, at these sort of levels, the Power Four, and you're doing it 15% of the time, you're obviously going to have a correlation in the slot. Most of the time, you're going to be flexed out, and that's the type of guy I'm interested in, at least from a college fantasy perspective. When projecting to the next level, obviously, you want somebody who's going to be on the field as much as possible, because you're not just going to be able to stick your tight end in the slot all the time. It's not going to. You want that 90%, 95% snap rate and to be a weapon in all phases. So the beauty of Johnson is he's in that 255 range. Terrence Carter, 237 listed at. Trey'Dez, maybe in the low 240s, which is still fine. We're okay in the mid 240s. That's right where Kelsey is, at 245 range. But having more full-sized frame, better blocker, and his work downfield that you didn't see Kenyon Sadiq doing later in important games down the stretch. Sadiq was running the outlet routes. He was running the dump-offs and the hitches and like the manufactured touches. It was Johnson that was killing him downfield. Love seeing. I can't wait to see how that translates this year. We have Dante Moore, who's the QB1 right now, 2027, entering the season.
Yeah, that was one of my takeaways with Sadiq too, where just when I was watching him, I was like, my God, how many screens have they thrown this dude? And I actually ended up running the numbers and looking at tight ends last 5 years, drafted rounds 1 through 3, what percentage of their career targets were screens. And at first I was like, oh, could be bad because Sadiq's at 34%. That's the highest of any tight end in this range. But then I'm looking at the other guys over 20%. Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin, Elijah Arroyo, Brock Bowers, like just one dog after another. So I hear you. I want that downfield production too, but it's also a thing where it's like, hey, we're designing screens for this tight end. That dude must be pretty good to get that treatment in the first place.
Total freak. I mean, it absolutely has to be factored in. So it's hard to just make a definitive statement where it's like, oh yeah, he's better than that 10 athlete, Sadiq, who really is incredible. I had a chance to see him on the field twice, and he is as advertised. Just looking at, he's carved out of granite. He's everything. So if anybody can be a star, I mean, that's the profile.
It was hilarious, man. Just again, being field level for the first time in my life, man. What a blessing. Thank you again for hooking your boy up with that. But I'm a pretty big guy. Everyone's 6'2", he's around 215 pounds. I was standing next to Davison Ignamosa, who ended up being a second round corner and went to the Bills. And this dude was every bit as big as me. And obviously much less body fat going on there. So these dudes really are built different. Just again, freaks among freaks out there, especially at these blue blood programs. Wanted to ask you about quarterbacks in college football fantasy, because last year, obviously, we have Fernando Mendoza and Julian Sayin both being invited to the Heisman, finalists, and then Mendoza obviously winning it, having just such a storybook season. But Mendoza and Sayin were the best passers of the football, just statistically, efficiency-wise last year. Were they even that great in college football fantasy, though, or is it a situation where we just really have to target more of the dual threat options?
Well, in college fantasy, when it comes to the Yahoo scoring system, we do 4-point passing touchdowns and 0.04 points per passing yard. So typically, I mean, if you're going to go, you can customize it, of course, once these go and get rolling. But in the standard league, which most people play, that 4-point passing touchdowns as opposed to 6-point passing touchdowns really changes the entire quarterback landscape. And it makes those quarterbacks who don't have a running element to them increasingly more marginalized. And, I took a look. And I just wrote a column, on the quarterback position for Yahoo, where I took a really deep dive look into it. And it basically came down to the fact where, like, I put them into 3 different brackets: quarterbacks who had less than 200 yards rushing, quarterbacks who had 200 to 400, and then 400 plus, all P4 quarterbacks who had dropbacks of 200 plus. And it was incredibly obvious. It was a 5-point differential from 17.5, which is the average, to the guys who ran for 400 plus yards. It was 22.78 is what they're averaging, as opposed to the average of 17. And that doesn't even get into when you're less than 200. There was only, out of like the 40, there was 110 quarterbacks who qualified under that statement. And of the 40 who, fit that threshold, of the under, I've actually hit the threshold of 20 plus points per game. Only 4 of them had under 200 rushing yards. And that's like the Darian Mensahs of the world. You know what I mean? And they're just like the prototypical best of the best. Sawyer Robertson for Baylor was another. He was the top non-dual threat quarterback because they threw the ball 42 times a game. So you need to be in true air raid level of passes in order to even crack that acumen. Talking about 40, only 4 of them happen under it, and then the rest of them are pretty much all coming from the 200, 400, and 400 plus range. So it's really a massive disparity. Knocks down the productivity of a Sayin, despite the fact that he's going to have 2 to 4 touchdown passes per game. But that's what, that's only 2 touchdown passes. That's 8, 3, that's 12. It doesn't work without a rushing component. You have to focus on somebody who can at least break the pocket a little bit when you're looking for fantasy purposes.
And I feel like personally, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people playing college football fantasy for their first time this year. Awesome. Get into it. I would think, though, they're going to see, oh, I know Julian's saying, I know these quarterbacks at these certain schools, and they're probably going to be chasing up the ranks when what you're describing to me, man, sure sounds like if there was a position to really wait around on, it's probably quarterback.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what you're going to see in terms of strategy, before you get into these CFF drafts, and this I'm seeing it, it's just across the industry and it's uniform, is the true hero RB strategy is alive. It is kicking. It is thriving.
Okay.
Get on board or you're going to be left behind. You need to be prioritizing running backs in the first 4, maybe 5 rounds of your draft. I would say you want to have 4 in your first 6 rounds without a doubt.
That's robust RB, bro. That's not hero RB.
that is, you're right. That is robust RB.
That's Avenger. That's Avenger RB right there.
It is blood feud RB. Yes, you are going with battle axes and war clubs and you're just bludgeoning your way through it because, hey, you can have 4 of them. You can start 4 of them a week, and you want to make sure of the 68, backfields, you're going to have a lot of splits, those high volume, projectable rushers with good offensive lines that play for alpha dog teams. They're going to be able to impose their will, like we talked about that second half. They're going to be leaning on teams that second half. There's real value there, and you don't want to be left behind because then you can be just searching through the back end of the Purdues and the Kansases, and that you don't want to be stuck rostering Michigan State's, running back as an RB2 when they're going to be getting or they're just going to be getting assaulted on a weekly basis in a brutally tough Big Ten. So you got to know your audience. Yeah.
You're saying overall, it's a lot easier to make up points in the mid to late rounds at wide receiver than running back.
Definitely. And this is a big, I would say, disparity between NFL and college, because I for time immemorial, since I've been playing NFL, the wide receivers, once established, like they're there for a few years. You're like, all right, I know what I'm getting out of these guys. I know that this is it, and I got him. This guy's awesome. He's got this QB, and there's continuity in passing games, right? Yeah. That just, once a team has a QB, the QB is going to be around for a while once they find one. If they get a wide receiver 1, they stick around. So, this projectability there. In college, guys are transferring every year. They're graduating. There's that natural turnover. The offensive line is going, getting better, getting worse. There's all types of turnover every year to where it's almost like it's a new roster you're getting used to. So because of that disparity, wide receiver is by far the toughest position to project from preseason rankings to what the end of season scoring ends up being because of the turnover you see in wide receiver rooms. You can guess. We think this guy who's coming in is going to be the top guy. I think Danny Scudero is going to get all the targets in Colorado for a bad team. But it could be Joseph Williams. I don't know.
Great stuff, my friend. So again, if you guys are trying to walk into a college fantasy draft this year, you absolutely should. And make sure you do it over on Yahoo. Not even sure where else you really should be doing it. But again, heavy running back early. If you can get a game changer tight end, awesome. Otherwise, maybe a position you could be waiting at, like quarterback, that we definitely want to do. Prioritize those rushing quarterbacks, and wide receivers are the spot. Unlike in NFL fantasy, that we can wait and still have some hopes of getting them down the stretch. So love all that. That's regular college football fantasy. You are also, Eric, though, in what's called Campus-to-Canton dynasty leagues, where you are drafting these dudes when they're starting their career on campus. And as the name implies, you are going all the way until they are hopefully finishing their career in Canton after having a luxurious professional year, getting in the Hall of Fame. So C2C dynasty leagues. How sick are you? Has your family just abandoned you at this point, man? Like, my God, this is dedication right here.
Yeah, you have to tread lightly with all the leagues you can do in the college adjacent landscape and make sure, like, all right, Devi, C2C, CFF, absolutely, I have to temper them. But I do 4 C2C leagues, and frankly, 2 of them are drafting right now, and I'm obviously knee deep in this freshman class. So it's a good time to ask. But the difference between Dynasty, Devi, and Campus-to-Canton leagues is Campus-to-Canton, you have a roster of college players that go to your NFL roster, similar to Devi. So Devi, you have 5, 10, however it is. You have them. They sit on those 5 to 10 players. They're just their dedicated list. You add new ones every year, and then they go up. With Campus-to-Canton, you have a 45-plus man roster that you are actually playing out college fantasy games with. And once they graduate and move on and go to the NFL, then they go to your roster and port immediately over to your NFL roster.
So you're simultaneously playing NFL fantasy and college fantasy games.
Yes, exactly. You're playing 2 seasons simultaneously at once. And you have a dedicated winner for the college side, a dedicated winner for the NFL side. Personally, I always draft for the NFL side because I can get my CFF fix elsewhere. You know, like I know I can win those leagues. I'll do those, but like I want to get the best prospects. So I'm typically always hawking my favorite freshmen and potential guys on the P4 side anyways when it comes to my Campus-to-Canton leagues.
Absolutely sick. Sounds like a nightmare to manage, but I always support anyone crazy enough to actually get into this. It's that honestly though, it's not the craziest form of fantasy I've ever heard of, man. I went to my local bank to do some like adult stuff, and the dude happened to like love fantasy. So we ended up talking about that instead of, my finances for about an hour story of my life there. This dude was in like, it was a World of Warcraft mixed with fantasy football league. I still barely freaking understand what this dude was talking about, but my God, did he have my attention going on there. So Campus-to-Canton, a little bit more realistic. Definitely, no pun intended there with what you can get going. Might have to badger you though, Eric. I don't know. I'm talking down on it, but might have to see if I can crack one of those. I don't know.
You should absolutely do that. Let me see. As soon as Yahoo expands to the C2C realm, I'll make sure to get you in, buddy.
Want to get your thoughts here on some Big Ten, SEC, bowl calls and things like that. But last thing, and kind of just bigger picture college football fantasy. For me, the biggest issue, but also perhaps the biggest advantage would be the lack of official injury reporting. You don't have to do what the NFL does, which is, again, every single practice, list what they're dealing with, see if they're limited, not practicing full practice, official designations. It really does seem to be the wild, wild west for college football fantasy. So how do you even go about like keeping track of who is in and out of any given game? And also on the side of that, the follow-up question would be, how do you take advantage of that in the prop market?
Yeah, well, the phantom DNPs are just an absolute pox on the college fantasy football marketplace. And to sort of combat it, what we've done just pretty much across the board is implemented, and this is something that Sleeper did last year, which they borrowed. This is a college fantasy invention. Congratulations, guys. Is the emergency sub. Because it happens it happened more previous years, and I'll get to that, but it happens all the time, which is guys just don't play all the time, and you have no idea. No, he's out there, he's in pads, he's running around, and he doesn't play, and it happens. It's maddening, and it tilts the balances of games. So you have to have that. You're allowed before any game start to list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. List as many as you want in order. And then you can automatically go in, but it has to be before any games start, or it tilts everything. So that's how we go about that whole process, and it does a lot, because I've been burned a million times with it, and it's the worst feeling in the world. It's just, what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't know. So
yeah, because like NFL, it's annoying, but you do have 90 minutes before kickoff, so I feel like it's probably 1 or 2 players you already know they're questionable. So I was like, do you really need the emergency sub? College football fantasy, man, you said it. Like there was 3-game stretches last year towards the end of the year where Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate just weren't playing. But to your point, you just see them standing on the sideline when the game started and have no idea. So, okay, Yahoo will have the emergency subs to help rectify those issues.
I have certainly made sure that is part of it and advised them. So I hope so. I believe it will.
Awesome. Well, Eric, I know in addition to your college football fantasy stuff, you actually do very, very well with the prop hits. I know at some point, man, you were hitting like 70%. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, the dark ages. Yeah, right when it started. Ages. Well, it was all NFL. That they put their best guys on NFL. There was no AI. And in 2019, 2020, 2021, I was up there around the 70% mark. But admittedly, that's down in the 63.3. I think we're at last year. So we're down. Hey. Just want to be accurate. But yeah, 7 years running strong, able to profit. But it's tough to get a lot down. The The books don't like taking college football prop bets, guys. We beat them up pretty good on those bets, so we get limited rather quick once they sniff out our little act that we have. So tread.
I know you
lightly.
had some awesome kind of Saturday morning pregame stuff going on, giving out some of those top props. And make sure you guys are following Eric over at CF Froton over on the old Twitter sphere. You, Thor Nystrom, bunch of, again, really sharp guys breaking it down the slate. But is that kind of just when you're doing those props, like is the injury verification one of the bigger parts that you're trying to find an edge with?
I would say performance, injury, circumstance, where it's you just get into, all right, well, this team doesn't exactly do this, this team stops this team doesn't, and just going with what the relative strengths of different defenses are and things like that. So there's definitely a stew that goes into it, but injuries are certainly massive, huge part of it. But I'll tell you, my favorite, if I had to pick one thing that was like, what is the most consistent moneymaker year over year, and it definitely permeated into last year, is unsettled quarterback situations where either poor performance, injury, but most of the time it's poor performance, and you just notice it's like, this guy just can't handle the gig. And what cannot go on forever won't. And unlike the NFL, where there's like, all right, we're playing this guy all this money, it's like, all right, well, next guy up, we have 5 of them that are 4 stars. And like, you got a whole room full of guys who are just dying to get a shot. It's like, well, we're getting killed. There's no reason to keep this guy in. And once they start playing the QB carousel, and like that second guy has a good showing, even if it's just for 2 drives at the end of the game and a blowout, you see that guy have 2 good drives, get the clock ticking. Because
get those unders going.
It's just a matter of when, and then it's just parsing that out. So I attack those with a fervor and vigor that eclipses ancient Celtic warriors.
I love it, bro. I remember one of the things, recently had a cool video go up with my guy Billy Collins breaking down some of the really cool tools that OddsJam has to offer. And one of the points that Billy made was just, look, NFL, guys, it's the biggest moneymaker out there. Everyone's watching it, but we have an entire week of these lines going up and down, everyone figuring out what's going on. Again, Eric said it. It's nonstop college football action on Saturday, then even earlier in the week with, some of the MAC and other stuff going on. So if you guys did want to, again, try to find some cool tools to help cut through that noise and find those edges, really good stuff at OddsJam that can, again, hopefully not get you cut off in the prop market. But hey, you got to be making some money, Eric, to get cut off in the first place. So
yeah, it's a wonderful problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're making too much money, and they know I'm too sharp to do it. But it happens all too often. So get ready.
Love it, man. Again, Eric Froton at CF Froton. Find out all his awesome stuff, Yahoo. Let's talk some actual ball now, okay? Big Ten, the premier conference in college football. And I'm not even trying to be a homer here, all right? SEC fans, if you guys want to take that crown back, go ahead and win some natty championships. Don't freaking leave the party like I'm hearing some rumors about, and disfranchising from the NCAA, yada, yada, yada. We'll talk about SEC in a second. Big Ten, though, Eric, who is winning this year and who's the most disappointing team?
Who is winning? I can't help it. I mean, we've seen Indiana and Ohio State do it year after year. I mean, we know that they're the big dogs and they're ready to go. I want to see a world where Oregon finally takes one. I want to see that happen. Dante, their entire fleet of receivers is just their entire. I can't believe they have so many guys. You get Jamari, as we talked about. You have D'Air Hill and Jordan Davison. Dude, get ready for D'Air Hill. He's going to be a household name.
Yeah.
You want a C2C guy. D'Air Hill, I can't believe the power. He's listed at 5'11", 175. Like, he's a sprinter, amazing capital S speed. And because he's moving at a different sort of speed than everybody else and has just more fast twitch, he can lay a lick on converging defenders that just you don't expect to see from a guy his size. I mean, he's got it all. So I'm a believer. I think Oregon has the tools and has the roster to be able to get it done. And on the other side, Uyanga. I mean, there's a lot to like that they're putting off. So I will go with them. as a sort of, I like coming out left field. I like not just taking the traditional one, Ian. I'm sorry.
that's
I
fair.
don't want to make you mad at me, but if I had to be a team that is expected to ascend, I think will disappoint a little bit. I don't think Michigan does it this year. So there, I'm throwing you a bone there. Okay, Ohio State guy. All right. So hear me out. Hear me out. But I don't think Michigan is ready to ascend to playoff level in year one of Whittingham and Becht. You hear the reports about Underwood coming out of spring, where like you could barely complete a forward pass. You hear that they came in and were like, "What was the coaching staff doing to teach this kid the finer points of quarterback play?" And they've had to sort of like break him down in the studs. While he's a super athlete, and like for college fantasy purposes, you have to respect his legs, and they did a lot of RPO stuff with him because they kind of had to. He wasn't accurate at all. So even though the tools might be there and like he's raw, I feel like this is going to be another year process of bringing him along and getting him in the culture of what's happening. I like Marsh and what have you, and they've got obviously a great set of running backs with Marshall and Savion Hitter. Savion Hitter, get ready. Him and Crowell for Alabama for running backs, they're going to be household names like sooner rather than later. So it's not that I don't like Michigan per se, but the changing of staffs and the schedule is brutal. They got the number 2 ranked toughest schedule in the country. They play Oklahoma in the non-con. Have fun, with that.
Yeah.
At Ohio State, at Oregon. They draw Indiana, play all 3 of the other big dogs in the team, and Iowa, who might have the best defense in the entire conference. Like, you never want to deal with their defense. So I just feel like you've got 5 brutal games on that schedule that is just going to chew up Michigan. I don't think they're ready to handle it just yet.
And even putting my obvious bias aside, I think Kyle Whittingham, very, very good hire, especially considering the circumstances that the entire really college has been and over the past couple of years. I did not have in my bingo card this offseason former incredible safety Eric Weddle so publicly criticizing Bryce Underwood and everything going on there. Apparently was visiting practices with his kid, making his way through everything. But yeah, man, could be an issue. I will just give, and I've tried to do this too with, people criticizing Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud at the next level. There is something, man, to the highly touted young quarterback who's being thrust into action immediately versus the Bo Nix, versus the Jaden Daniels, guys who got 50 starts under the belt. Yep. It's hard, man. Like Bryce Underwood, I'm happy that for his sake and for these freshmen' sakes, like I am happy that we've kind of, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, seen the last of these like 7th, 8th year players that, they got the COVID red shirt and they got all this. Yeah. I feel like we're getting back to a point where college football should mostly be being played again between 18 and 22-year-olds. Is that a fair assumption?
You get 5 years now. Doesn't matter if you're injured. Doesn't matter if you redshirt. Doesn't matter what you do. Okay. You get 5 years, ice cold. Good. So you can now we actually, because that really was an issue for it was awful trying to figure out who's what, like especially for CFF dynasty purposes. Like forget about it. I have no idea from some of these G6 guys from year to year. How do we know? They're not going to the NFL. We don't even hear about them. And I'm an NFL guy when it comes to the draft. So, yeah, it was – oh, my God. Don't get me going.
With Oregon, though, they invaded another, Big Ten program, Minnesota. They got Coy Parrish, another kind of safety who could end up being in that first-round consideration. Obviously got Dylan Thieneman the year before. So they're doing their thing, man. And again, you mentioned just the deep wide receiver room. I believe they also have Evan Stewart come back. Did some bad things to my guy Denzel Burke in Austin, a couple years ago there. So obviously it's a team that they haven't been able to win the big one, man. But then you look at their losses, and let's see. They lost to Indiana twice last year. They lost to literally just Ohio State the year before, and then Washington twice. So they've lost to the last 2 national champions, a Washington team that lost the national championship to Michigan, and that's freaking it. Dan Lanning, I don't like him because he's not my favorite team's head coach, but if he was my favorite team's head coach, I would freaking love this guy. So you do think this is a get over the hump year, potentially not just in the Big Ten, though, but also on the national scale?
I do think it could be. I think that we're there. I mean, because, hey, in case we haven't, as you dutifully pointed out, the Conference of Champions is the Big Ten, right?
Amen.
The last 3 champions coming from come on now, so Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan, here we are. It's a new era now that the SEC can't be dropping bags off Everybody gets to drop their bags off now. Nick Saban. So, yeah, everybody gets to have fun. Everybody gets to play. And now with a level playing field, look, Big Ten's playing. As you know, I was with NBC for 7 years. I was going to all the Big Ten games, so I couldn't help. When I was trying to go to the SEC, they were slamming doors in my face. They weren't letting me.
Ooh.
LSU wasn't playing games. Georgia wasn't letting me play any reindeer games. I'll tell you. So props to Auburn. Auburn was cool. Tennessee was cool. But hey,
War Eagle.
After dealing with a little bit of elitism down south, I can't help but having a little Big Ten bias. So yeah, I do think very much so the Big Ten is a kingmaker conference, and that Oregon has 100% legitimate national title aspirations. I back it.
Oregon right now plus 260 to win the Big Ten over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Indiana plus 250. Ohio State plus 180 at the top of things. So is this going to be a thing now, Eric? I keep hearing about all these freaking, just alumni from Indiana that are billionaires. I had no idea even went there. They're pumping money into this school. They're
Mark
getting
Cuban,
the transfers
bro.
they want. They're getting 5-star wide receivers over Ohio State. Some dude in the class of 2027. Like Kurt Signetti, he's here to stay. That's a thing now.
Bro, some dude is Nick Marsh, okay? Nick Marsh is my number 2 wide receiver from the 2027 NFL draft class, behind only our Lord and Savior himself, the great Jeremiah Smith, Julio Jones 2.0. All right? That's what it takes. A generational wide receiver. He's not Marvin Harrison. No. He is Julio Jones 2.0, Jeremiah Smith. That's what it takes for me to like somebody more than Nick Marsh. Does it all. Does the Drake London throw your face in the ground when you're singled up on just a quick hitch? He'll do that. Can blow you away down they're scared. Cornerbacks are scared of him. He beat up on Pons pretty good when he was at Michigan State, and he had the least accurate quarterback, literally had the lowest on-target rate of any quarterback in the entire Power 4, Aiden Childs throwing him the ball, Nick Marsh. He still lit up D'Angelo Pons, okay, who is everybody's darling. That's why he's on Indiana, because I bet you Signetti went right up to him after that game and was like, bro, you talk next year. You do D'Angelo like that, I want you. And I'm telling you, he wins off the break. Only thing I can probably give as a little ding on Marsh is just like he's a little sluggish in his get-off. His release, a little slow off the line, which can be, talk about picking nits, but I'm telling you, he can do everything else, and he is my wide receiver to the 2027 class. So, yeah, I think Indiana definitely sticks around. Definitely. And they got a great line again, too. They got Carter Smith over there at left tackle. Ohio State, Oregon turning over their line. Their line is still intact. They will still be a factor. I absolutely believe in it.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right now. I remember when I was kind of going through, again, this last class of college football wide receivers. And one of the things I just like to see is, how often are they able to break tackles? And just over the years, again, one of the only red flags of Marvin Harrison Jr. that you could nitpick coming out of college, at least, was the fact he was not breaking a lot of tackles. And just, the Malik Neighbors of the world, the Luther Burdens of the world, we have seen them stand out. Only guy with more missed tackles forced on receptions last year among Power 4 wide receivers than Nick Marsh was Malachi Toney. Obviously very, very special at Miami. And the fact he was doing
28.
18 years old, man, incredible. 28, Nick Marsh.
58% broken tackle rate. Toney did it on 100 receptions. Yeah. He had it. Marsh did it on what, 54 or something like that? He had a 58% broken tackle rate. That's ridiculous.
It is insane.
He is humming. Get ready.
Indiana's not going anywhere. New era in Penn State. The Penn State Cyclones, Eric.
Penn State Cyclones, look at you. The Matt Campbells, right? Dude, their schedule is unreal, Penn State. Unreal. They're underrated. Rocco Becht. Fun fact for you. Yeah, I know you like fun fact. Anthony Becht's son, for all you NFLers out there. I know you love those things. I know you love those little connections, right?
His name Rocco?
Oh, Rocco Becht. Hey. Yeah, so our boy Rocco. Yeah, Rocco Becht led all Power 4 quarterbacks last year in plus throw rate. 24% of his passes. Plus throws 1 out of every 4 was outrageously good. And he's going over to Penn State where, there was a mass exodus that followed Franklin out. And I'm very bullish on Virginia Tech because of that. But look,
Okay.
there's enough that's going over there from Iowa State where Rocco Becht and that schedule, they play the 53rd ranked schedule in the country. They're a Big Ten team. Marshall, Temple, Buffalo. Don't get too scared with the non-con. But they still got Northwestern, Purdue, Minnesota, Rutgers, Maryland. Like the only real dead spots you have in the whole schedule at Michigan and at Washington. Those are their two toughest Big Ten games. Bro,
Dude,
by default, they're going to win games and put up points. Like Rocco Becht is going undrafted in some drafts. I've been taking him the 30th round of my best ball series, my champion series. Shout out to the boys. Been taking him in the 30th round anywhere I can get him. What an amazing deal.
Penn State plus 425 right now to make the college football playoff. I don't look at them as like a threat. I'm not sure if your opinion is different, but that schedule, bro, they should be favored to win at least 10 of those games. And that probably gets you in.
I feel like if I'm looking at Penn State, you got to look at the regular season wins. Like that's where we're going. 8.5, over 8.5 to give you a benchmark of how the market feels is minus 166. Wow, so they're expecting, market's expecting a 9-win season here out of this. It's pretty good. 9-3 in year one on a Campbell. That ain't bad. And it's all due to the schedule. They just don't have any big dogs on you. Toughest team they play is Michigan and USC. Like, all right, fine. Washington.
Road trip to Washington, not easy to win over there. I get it. But yeah, that is crazy how they just managed to
sailgate your way in. Sailgate your way into Husky Stadium. Do you know that? It's right on the water. I have actually sailgated into Husky Stadium in 2023 during the Michael Penix era when they played Arizona State. Yeah. It was an enthralling experience, you might imagine. When you tailgate at Washington, it's like you've seen the movie Dazed and Confused from the 90s, right? Slow ride. Take it easy. You know what's going on. The Tower Party in Dazed and Confused, that is exactly what tailgating looks like at Washington, at Husky Stadium. It's a total free-for-all with just trees. You just park anywhere. There's no spaces. There's literally no spaces. You just find a patch of grass near a tree and you just park there and you just throw down. It's chaos. It's great. Highly recommend. Underrated.
Party at the Moon Tower.
Party at the Moon Tower.
Washington.
That's what I'm talking about, guys. I'm serious. You want that.
UW. That's a weird situation, man. What's their quarterback? Fast as hell, man. Had his issues, but he wanted to transfer, and then he just came back. I guess it's college football for you in the year 2026.
Yeah, they played Shane McMahon's music when he came in. Here comes the money. Yeah, he tried. I mean, hey, everybody's trying to go out and get themselves more money. Everybody's trying to do it, but they're starting to. They leaned on him. They had some paperwork where it was just like, dude, okay, you want to do this? Like, this is some paperwork, and they threw it on him, and he was like, I'll come back.
Demon Williams, shout out. Fun to watch for sure. Yeah. We'll see what UW's got this year. Let's talk the SEC, all right? All Big Ten, SEC, jokes aside, of course we all love watching SEC football, and they have over the last 25 years, you want to roll back the clock, certainly been the premier conference in all of college football. Who's winning it this year, Art?
Who is winning the SEC? I'm going to go with a team that I think is a phenomenal deal. Just an incredible deal at current market value. You may know them as the Alabama Crimson Tide, immortalized by Steely Dan and Deacon Blues. I think that it's time. It's year 3 of Kalen DeBoer. Their defense, like people, you got to remember, like I know DeBoer, you're never talking about the defenses he has there, but man, I'm telling you, I think they're as good. They're going to be as good as any defense country. They have 3 potential All-Americans in their secondary. Wow. With Saab, Bray Hubbard, Xavier Brown. These guys are all unreal. Yanze Pierre comes back and is a elite prospect on the edge. Like they lose a little bit, but like they don't lose anybody more than a 4th-round draft choice. Alabama didn't lose anybody more than a 4th-round draft choice. Fine, Overton. Scary. Adios, LT Overton. Fine. Like Pierre's better. They're not going to have any problems. They're bringing in more talent. I think they're going to be in great shape. I think that bringing in Keelan Russell, having him in year 2, I think he'll be better. Maybe not right away, but like they'll be able to do more with him than they were able to do with Ty Simpson from an RPO standpoint, because he's an incredible athlete, and he's number one prospect in the country coming out of high school. I had the opportunity to talk to his quarterback coach during the Elite 11. I got a chance to watch him up close and personal, interview him, and I believe he's smart too. That's the other thing. He's sharp. He's one of the smartest kids. Like, his QB coach was effusive when he went through it, and I would need to get into specifics. But like, I believe he's a total package, and I think he's going to be able to take over after having an apprenticeship year and be effective right out of the gate. From a betting perspective, their over/under is 8.5 wins, and it's even money to go over that. I think that's dude, 9 wins is happy. With this defense to complement an offense that they have, hopefully Ryan Williams wakes up. You got Xavier Crowell, who is an NFL running back coming in on ice. I mean, you always hear about their no. Xavier Crowell is different. He is immediately a top 10, like Debbie prospect right out of the gate is Xavier Crowell. Wow. Oh, right out of the gate for running backs, a top 10 Debbie running back right now. Him and Hitter are elite, and in a different class. And those type of guys are born; they're not made. So they're going to be able to. I think they're a nice dark sleeper team to win the SEC. That is, everyone's saying Texas or Georgia. Ooh, I want to believe in year 3 of DeBoer. Good money. Good
plus 260. Georgia, the current favorites to win the SEC. Texas plus 310, and then tied for third at plus 850. Some steep odds. Texas A&M and Alabama.
That's what I'm saying, boys. Man. Plus 850. I want to go down the board. I want to give you some spicy. You're going to be picking me up at the airport in a couple of days.
It was a rough Florida State opener last year. Ty Simpson for the next 6-7 weeks was playing fantastic football. Got the back injury, got a couple other injuries, fell off down the stretch. I know it happened, all right. But Kirby Smart, I know he got the SEC title win. Still, obviously, has a ways to go to get that win-loss record against Bama back to 500 there. This is like the first time in recent memory, bro, that we've had a chance to get Bama going as dogs. I like the call a lot. You mentioned Ryan Williams, though. Ryan Coleman-Williams now, I believe he added the hyphen in last year. For those that remember, I'm sure you remember this play, even if you're not a big college football fan. 2 years ago against Georgia, just made the play of the season, catching it late, spinning down the sidelines. He was on the cover of NCAA football alongside Jeremiah Smith, and it just didn't go right for him last year. They ended up running the offense mostly through Jeremy Bernard. A lot of drops for Ryan Williams. Do you consider him to still be a first-round prospect, or is it one of those kind of freshman year bangs, and unfortunately he's just not the same?
I think he's on the cusp. I think he could still work his way into first-round consideration, sure. I mean, the athleticism's there. He's very fluid, very smooth. Yeah. But, man, the catch technique. I was talking with, Harmon about this. Matt Harmon, of course, Yahoo fellow employee, where there's another wide receiver, Bryant Wesco for Clemson, who is pretty solidly in first-round range is where he's being considered and being mocked. He is a speed demon, like Deshaun speed.
Ooh.
Like he is
Ajax, baby.
Fast. But ball tracking and the hands and like the physicality getting bumped off the routes, it's like there's these things you just look at. And Harmon is a guy who, when I brought up, like, he's not worried about the hands as much. He feels like that can be taught. If you have, like, the overall profile and you've proven that you can do it, like, you can get through some of those lapses and work your way through them. I think that I tend to agree with Williams' his traits. Yeah. They're enough to get through, and if he has a good season this year, all will be forgotten and he'll be good to go. But he's got to do it. He's got to show that he can make some high level catches like he did as a freshman.
Led all Power 4 receivers with 10 drop passes last year. So again, going to be one of those Casey Concepcion offseason storylines I'm sure that we had to deal with. I tend to, again, agree with Matt, though, that if you're in a position to drop passes in the first place, probably getting open, you're earning the targets. It is something that you would like to see rectified in the future. So Alabama, everyone, the SEC dark horse pick here. You got a call for most disappointing team? Is the Kiffin hype at LSU going to fall face front? Who are you thinking?
I actually, I feel like Oklahoma is getting, because of their D, they have an incredible D, but they're getting a lot of hype. again, it's the schedule. Like when I'm looking at them making the playoff, like if they're going to be able to pull that off, I can't get behind it, Ian. I'm sorry. You're playing at Michigan. We talked about it works both ways. It's tough for Michigan, also tough for Oklahoma. They're 13-1, obviously, but they're playing at Georgia. They draw Texas in the Red River as they always do. They play Ole Miss. They play A&M. They have to go to Florida, who will be much better with Summerall this year. It's like I'm looking at what they have, and at the end of the day, I just can't get by because I have a bias. I don't think John Mateer is a particularly good quarterback, and that's really what it comes down to. I just don't trust them to operate out of the pocket inside of structure, as opposed to just going out there and winging it and being wild Diego Pavia, squared, and just winging it around, which it's fun and it's a good time. But like you got to be able to hit those dimes when you're hitting those bang outs when you need 10 yards. And his throwing motion is awkward. He doesn't set his lower half. Like there's a lot of things I feel like he needs to do and he needs to clean up in order to be somebody that I can get behind from this is a playoff caliber team that this guy can lead them in the playoffs. So like them as a playoff contender, I don't think that that's a realistic scenario. I don't think they've got enough there, Anna.
I was kind of my eyes open to John Mateer in that Michigan game last year early in the season, but maybe the injuries were the big factor, man, but it was rough after that. I was in Oklahoma City this last weekend for the UFC fights. Awesome time. And they were showing a bunch of Oklahoma players. That
was a good fight.
Bro, DNP took it to Usman. Did not help my bank account. I'll tell you that.
You're going to lose.
Can't be going with 38-year-old fighters, Ian. We know better than that. Got to work on that. But they were showing a bunch of Oklahoma players in the crowd. And Mateer, he gave the horns down, which I get it. You're Oklahoma's quarterback. I feel like you got to score an offensive touchdown against Texas and the horns down. Is that fair?
Oh, I think it is fair.
I think it's fair.
Speaking
of Texas.
Ian, I think it's fair. Yeah.
Is Arch Marion the real deal? Because I watched him in Columbus, did not look good. I watched him next 4 or 5 weeks, it didn't look good. I felt like
this is his first career start against Patricia.
I know. Let me finish. I feel like November, that Michigan game, this dude looked awesome. And now you add Cam Coleman, who I'm told is one of the best wide receivers in the upcoming draft class, potentially. You buying Texas as arguably the favorite of the SEC?
Yeah, the tools with Coleman are just outrageous. Yeah, he's my wide receiver 3. Behind Marsh, and it's just he's a true X boundary. And how many of those guys really, really come through? I feel like we get excited about the big guys who were kind of long-legged, but it's only the really rare ones really stick. You know what I mean? The Londons, the T. Higgins, and it's a tough profile. It's more about space creation now. I feel like Cam Coleman is that X profile, as is Jeremiah Smith. He's the closest thing you're going to get to Jeremiah Smith. And then you got Marsh. Like these top 3 guys are all 6'3 plus. These were all big boys for my guys. I am excited to watch. And they got Ryan Wingo on the other side, who's not small. He's 6'1", 210, who you get the ball in his hands. Bro. He can fly. You got 2 great receivers. I believe in Arch. I think he's going to be just fine. Personally, I think he's going to be rock solid. Last year, sure, it was his first foray into starting, but now he's got a full off season. He's had it. He's done it. Done the camps. I think he's going to be fine. And from a college fantasy perspective, he is the best P4 guy because he runs. He's 235. He is solidly built. Remember that picture they took with Quinn Ewers standing next to Arch? This is like 2 years ago they took that picture. He dwarfed Quinn Ewers. Like, this is a big man. Mogged him. But this is a big man. I'm wheels up. He is going to be tough to stop. I think it's Texas and Alabama, and I think Georgia comes down a little bit. I know. I'm getting a little spicy here. I think it's Texas and Alabama this year in the SEC championship.
What is Georgia even doing, man? Is it Gunnar Stockton or is it this Mike Bobo OC that makes that offense so freaking unwatchable? I know they got the dogs out there.
Boring, isn't it?
Lost McConkey, lost Bowers, but like the whole Zachariah Branch conversation has been, so many screens, so many RPOs, such a design gadget. And it's like, I hear you. I wish we could see some bigger boy NFL routes too, but I feel like a lot of that might have had to do with that offense.
Dude, For what we're talking about, all the gadget stuff and the way that he was used, where it's basically extended handoffs, and he only got 81 targets in the regular season. It wasn't like he was out there getting like 120 targets. Here comes they just don't do it. Again, you want to talk about teams that play slow? Welcome to Georgia. This is how it is now with the big dogs. They're going to lean on you. And they rotate backs, and you're going to see Nate Frazier, and you're going to see Bowers, and you're going to see even who's the third? They get Dwight Phillips, Dante Dowdell just came in. Like, they're just going to throw a wall of running backs at you. They're going to have a great offensive line. They always do. They're just going to try to maul you. And for his part, like from a P4, from a fantasy perspective, Gunnar Stockton had 10 rushing touchdowns last year. He's going to have over 500 rushing yards. Like, he's one of those guys where he is better in fantasy. He's a 23 point per game quarterback in fantasy. Like, he's an every week P4 QB2 that you can bounce and just plug and play because he's matchup proof. So, like, he's good to have, but there's not any wide receivers. You're not seeing any wide receivers. Isaiah Canyon, you're not seeing Taylor. I mean, nobody's getting taken because they don't throw. They spread it around so much, and they go to the tight ends, and they throw it out of the backfield, and they run. It's just not an exciting team offensively.
And hey, they were still a very, very close game against Ole Miss, away from advancing further in the college football playoffs. I'm not saying Kirby's doing anything wrong down there, but just been surprising again from an offense that looks so freaking unstoppable with Stetson Bennett a few short years ago. Last three guys I wanted to ask you about, and just because you talked about, again, you love Bama as a potential dog here, Georgia, Texas, top of the kind of rankings for a reason. These other three teams, though, Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss. Marcel Reed's the A&M quarterback. We got Trinidad Chambliss after just a very weird saga going back and forth. He will be returning to Ole Miss. And then we got Sam Leavitt doing his LSU thing alongside Kiffin. Spent the last couple of years in Arizona State. So you guys watched some Jordan Tyson highlights. That was Leavitt throwing the football. Out of these quarterbacks, like, who do you think maybe has the best chance of putting these teams on their back and actually having a surprising run? Because Trinidad did it last year.
Trinidad was magnificent last year.
God, dude. That performance, dude, against Georgia, like, I thought that was the Stroud, Georgia, the Scattaboo, Texas. Like, that just seemed to me like the best single game performance of anyone last year.
He was incredible. He wasn't even the starter last year. It was Austin Simmons who started the season. Then he got hurt early on, and bro, it was right out of the gate. As soon as he came on, it was just magic. And he's not big. He's like 5'11", but my gosh, like, he has that Russell Wilson sort of component to him where he isn't just fast, and he's great breaking pocket. Like, from a college fantasy perspective, he's awesome. He's my QB2 behind Arch, but like, some of those layered throws he was making, and the cover two beaters, and the seam shots, he made all the throws in the biggest moments. It's just like, other than Arch, he's my guy. So that's how I feel about Trinidad Chambliss. I think he's magic. And then if there's somebody else who I feel like could have the intangibles to propel their team, I like Sam Leavitt. I really enjoyed watching him in 2024 at Arizona State, and last year. He got hurt after in his seventh game. Yeah. But with Leavitt, it's almost like he's a little more dependable version of Mateer in that he has that ability to break the pocket. And I think he's even better than Mateer at this. Like, he is so good at throwing on the run and finding and keeping his eyes downfield, but then running. He's an excellent runner too. Like, he has that dual threat capability where he does both. But like, some guys will just run, some guys will just throw. He does both to where it's hard to figure out what's it going to be. And when he throws, man, he made some beauties on the run. And I love how he keeps his eye downfield. I think he's better in the pocket than Mateer is, but there's room to clean things up. I think that, like, system fit wise is what we're getting at here. Kiffin, he reminds me of like a Corral. He reminds me of a Dart. Like, he's that kind of a guy. And all Kiffin asks you to do is 1 read, 2 read, go. And Sam Leavitt can do that. So, like, simplifying things, which Dillingham is an amazing OC over there in Arizona State, don't get me wrong, but like, Kiffin will just simplify it and then let him loose. And I could see him having, because Corral and Dart were both magnificent college fantasy starters. They were true QB1s for college fantasy purposes. And I feel like Leavitt has more dart potential than he does on the corral side for NFL draft purposes. I feel like he has a better arm. So I'd love to see how he does. I feel like if he elevates, like he could get in the first round conversation if he has a good year.
Watching Jordan Tyson again from these last couple seasons, bro, I completely agree. Leavitt, he'd make the impossible happen. Just some of the craziest off structure plays that you've seen out there. It was almost like more of a trouble hitting some of those layups. And having watched, again, plenty of Lane Kiffin's offenses over the years, I feel like he's going to make that easier than ever for this dude. I feel like this LSU offense, man, is going to put up big time numbers, which probably isn't a hot take, but I love hearing that you could see the first round stuff, because I did have a couple too many kind of big waves earlier in this offseason. Put a Heisman bet on Sam Leavitt, man. We'll see what happens.
I like it. There's a path, let me tell you that. And like I said, there's a path for first round. So if I can get a little Kalshi markets, I'd probably go and explore it. I don't know how that works.
Shout out. All right, Eric. Fantastic stuff, man. We'll get some quick hitters here on some, again, just predictions, the rest of college football. What random team do you think could surprisingly kind of rise up and be in the thick of the college football playoff conversation come here November?
I like having fun in the Big 12 and the ACC because, you know, with the big two conferences, those teams are just so good that it's tough to ascend up there. Like you hear what we're talking about. Okay, Oregon and Indiana and, you know, hot take, you know, oh, great. Alabama, and even that it kind of is. But we can have fun in the Big 12. We can have fun in the ACC. I like Houston in the Big 12. Okay. I am a Houston guy. Willie Fritz, year 3. Again, it's the year 3 of like coaches that I like, sort of a thing that I trust. And I love Willie Fritz. You saw we did it Tulane. Michael Pratt was a machine for fantasy purposes, all right, over there when he was at Tulane, as we all know. Got himself drafted because of it. Not a lot of G5 QBs were doing that at the time. But, you know, over there at Houston, Connor Weigman, former like high 4 adjacent 5-star quarterback at Texas A&M, like started young but then got hurt. Was around for the full season. He has the same dual threat capability we talked about with the other guys, but I mean, really good, solid arm. There's a lot of good senior-esque, you know, junior, senior, upperclassmen QBs that I like, and I'm excited to see how they do this year. And Connor Weigman's absolutely one of them. You also got Amari Thomas, who was just a target hog all over the place. They bring in Trent Walker, who had 100 catches 2 years ago for Oregon State. And from UTSA, tight end to replace Tanner Koziol, who is a hot dynasty name. We got Patrick Undermeyer from UTSA, was a machine down there at the AAC level. So I just feel like all that is incredible. And they play the 60th ranked schedule. Schedule so important. Don't have to deal with some of the big dogs there that you're worried about. No BYU. Will have the unfortunate pleasure of playing at Texas Tech, but it's week 3 and it's early. And we know that there's issues. Like Texas Tech is still like a heavy favorite in the Big 12. But there's real questions about Will Hammond coming back, their quarterback. He was injured. He tore his ACL late in the season. Third game of the season, they play Houston. I think Houston could get him that early in the year before Hammond is really back and really comfortable. He might not play the first 2 games. I think that's a real upset spot. They go and they beat Texas Tech, and it's on. It's on, and I think they could. So I like
Houston's plus 850 on DraftKings to make the college football playoff. Navy. Post Eli Heidenreich, Navy has better odds. Come on.
I know. Eli Heidenreich. I mean, look at the testing. You don't see guys from Navy test like that.
Heisman. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves to bet on it for good reason. Who's your favorite, and what's your favorite dark horse bet?
Well, my favorite and the favorite.
Don't say CJ Carter. Don't say CJ.
No, of course not. My favorite, honestly, and something I have a position on, 14-1. 14-1. Jeremiah Smith. Why wouldn't I take? Guys,
my guy.
I want the best player. We saw Travis Hunter win it a couple years ago, which I had at 75-1, at 100-1. I was only able to get $50 down in each of them. I don't care. I had him at 75 and 100-1 in January the year before. Jeremiah Smith is the best player in college football. I want the best player in college football And the beauty about Ohio State and saying is like there's no Carnell Tate there anymore. You know, McEwen's fine. You're going to get Chris Henry plenty of work. Don't get me wrong, but like saying is so solid but unspectacular and so like low key good. Highest completion rate in the country by over 5% on target accuracy rate.
Yeah.
Like he was 73% on target rate, 69, I think was what we had for
Nice.
for Fernando Mendoza's next closest, just off the top of my head. But throwing, like, he's just milquetoast and boring enough to where it's just everyone's going to just go gaga over Jeremiah Smith. So he is my number one overall player. When I have the number one overall pick, I am taking Jeremiah Smith. And at 14-1, I am also taking Jeremiah Smith.
Dude, the thing with saying, I know the expectation for Ohio State, if they lose a single game, it's a disaster. And I get it. Okay. The way it's talked about, Saying versus Indiana and Miami, you would think he threw for like 100 yards, man. He still averaged 8.9 and 8.2 yards per attempt in those games, 258 and 287. Needs to do better out of structure. Needs to not take some sacks. But I don't know, man. You talked about tough schedules. Man, Ohio State's got probably the toughest one in the country. And what I see from that, though, is we're not going to get these. We're not going to get this 2-month stretch of, oh, okay, Maryland's up next. Oh, here comes UCLA. They're going to have to keep that pedal down early and often to make sure they can get to double-digit wins. And yes, guys, I know Arthur Smith, we've had our issues. Arthur Smith, I think we're going to see what we saw in Matt Patricia last year. That's someone who is still good enough to be an NFL head coach, still good enough to be a quality NFL offensive coordinator. Put them at the college level and give them Saying and Jeremiah Smith. Get freaking ready, man.
Got Chip Kelly a job in the NFL again, right?
Right.
He hung around for a year at Las Vegas. Congratulations. Grabbed a paycheck. That being said, at Ohio State, at Texas, week 2, at Iowa, at Indiana, Oregon, Michigan, at USC. Dude, I have it number 5 in the country, but it's one of the top 5 toughest schedules, you know, if not, it's brutal schedule. That's why, I mean, another cap in Oregon's favor compared to that. They don't got to face that.
Do you have a long shot? Otherwise, I mean, Jeremiah plus 1,400, I know that's already like a pretty decent one. I was just wondering if there was someone like way down the line that you maybe thought.
Do I have a long shot? You think I'm going to come in here? Ian Hartitz' show. My first RotoWire appearance with Ian Hartitz. I'm not going to have long shots, my friend. You're darn right I do. I'm going to go with, in descending order, we talked about him before. I won't belabor the point. Nick Marsh, 200-1. Okay. Give it to me. Ooh. They're a great team. Everybody loves Charlie Becker. Don't get me wrong. If they want Nick Marsh to go wild, he's going to go wild. I mean, it's a matter of how much they want him to go nuts. He is 10 times the receiver that Elijah Surratt is. So Elijah Surratt is nothing. So anyways, him, 250-1. Here's one for you. Here's a deeper. We're going to the ACC. We're going down the ACC board to one of my favorite ACC sleeper teams. We're going to Pitt. We're going to the Underdog. Pat Narduzzi. Ooh. Mason Heinschel, quarterback. Pittsburgh, 250-1. Dude, Cade Bell, Kerwin Bell, his son, Cade Bell, is the offensive coordinator at Pittsburgh. Like, Heinschel was a freshman last year. Like, they threw him into the Wolves, kind of, just like, all right, Eli Holstein. They thought Holstein was going to be the guy. But like, you heard all through camp, like, hey, this Heinschel kid's really good. Holstein was a top 10 recruit out of Alabama that transferred there and was like the incumbent. He comes in, 4 games in the season, takes over, and lights it up for a few games, and then faces some tougher opponents down the stretch. But it's all there with Heinschel. I think he's going to be great from a college fantasy perspective. I'm very high on him. 250-1, that's a fun one. And lastly, my man, my RB1 of the 2027 draft class, and it's deep. It's 300-1, but my RB1 from Florida, John Sumrall going there. He made Tyjae Spears a household name at Tulane single-handedly, a kingmaker for the running back position. Jaden Boss, 6'1", 228, Florida. That man is an absolute monster of a human being. Like, incredible, like the slippery, the ability to slide step and to square up and to fool defenders. He's got like 4.57 estimated speed. But then when he lowers it down, or when he gives you the stiff arm, when he lowers it down, creating bad angles, he's blowing right through SEC caliber linebackers. Unbelievably difficult to tackle. He is like that. Just, it takes an army to do it. He reminds me of like higher end speed and burst than Ramondre, but that same sort of lateral agility and ability to catch the ball and to do everything, but more explosive. Because Ramondre is like a 4.65 guy. I think you see Baugh go like 4.56, 4.57.
Mm-hmm. Jeremiah Smith, Eric's favorite, Nick Marsh, Mason Heichel, Jaden Baugh. Maybe sprinkle on some long shots, guys. Crazier things have happened after all. 75 to 100 to 1 Travis Hunter. Absolutely love him, my friend. Last thing, favorite bet. Maybe you've already said it. Favorite current bet that you have down. It could be week 0. It could be award, conference winner. What is your favorite bet that we all need to just run and put down right now?
I'm going to go to the props market. The season longs just came out there on Underdog, right? So I put down a few. So a lot of my favorites that initially were out are now no longer available, but this is still there. I haven't even put this out publicly. This is an Ian Hartitz exclusive.
Whoa.
Ian Hartitz exclusive right here. And you heard him already. I mean, it's not a secret, but Nick Marsh is listed at 724.5 receiving yards.
He'll be there by week 5.
Bro, he is going to destroy that. They have him like, it's like, oh, well, I don't know. Like, they got Josh Hoover throwing. They have a whole new running back room. The top 2 just graduated. Like, yeah. Nick Marsh is going to have no problem catching passes. Like, oh, yeah, what do you need, 60 yards a game, 12 games? Yeah, he's going to be all right. He's going to be just fine. He's going to be fine. I love it.
I know they got Becker there. They got Becker there, but they
Charlie
had
Becker,
all 3 of the...
I loved his. He was 699.5 he opened at. That wasn't over. He's up to 750 now. But, like, definitely 699.5. He didn't start until week 8, and he destroyed just in terms of the back shoulder throws and the dominance, winning at the catch point. Nobody won like at the catch point who's returning this year like Charlie Becker. He's getting first round buzz off of just sheer 6'4", 220 bulliness. Both of them are unbelievable. There's no Omar Cooper. There's no Elijah Surratt. Like, Tyler Morris is that third guy in the slot. They're going to, anytime those 2 guys are going to get all those targets focused directly to them, and they deserve it. Get it. Like, no problem. I think both of them sail over that 7 mark.
Nick Marsh, Heisman, over. Let him date your daughter, whole 9 yards. Nick
Wide
Marsh.
receiver 2 behind Smith. Wide receiver 2, 2027.
Eric, you are a gentleman and a scholar. And again, you do fantastic work as the college football analyst, maker, founder over at Yahoo Sports. Everyone go check out your work again at CF Froton. If you're into Twitter sphere type of thing, anything else you want to go for chess, my friend?
Yeah, just play college fantasy football over at Yahoo and give it up to RotoWire. They've been longtime supporters of the college fantasy football movement. My homeboy John McKechnie, right? Yeah. I know he's a long time. I know he likes NFL too. You know, I'll forgive John for that because he's a great guy. But you know, nothing but love for RotoWire and everything they've done for the college fantasy football space. True supporters, and I love it. So happy to see you over here, Ian.
Great to be here, my brother. And I will see you on Thursday at the airport. I will try not to be late with that. Going to be a fun weekend up there in Canton. But RotoWire appreciates you. And we appreciate you guys tuning in to another show here. If you like the show, then please like the show. And that subscribe button always does help us as well. So for Eric, I am Ian. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. And until next time, take care.